Hello, everyone. It's Thursday and we're here. I know you guys had a break for Thanksgiving, so I hope you had a really great Thanksgiving. But I'm super excited about our next segment. So, last live, we had a great interview. And then before that, we talked about the generations. But we're going to continue with this like interview type thing. And I decided to do something kind of different. And I'm having conversations with great leaders and just asking them the question, what do you do? How do you create this inclusive culture? How do you create a culture where production is happening, productivity is happening? How do you create a culture with just people thriving? So I'm super excited about our first guest. And I'm just going to read some stats out for you guys on our first guest. Her name is Jaime Lawrence. In full disclosure, I think she's a great lawyer because we are friends. We've known each other for a long time. So of course, great people like hang around each other. So there's a disclaimer. But we're going to continue this series. I'm going to interview great leaders and just ask them what they do. How are they creating this great culture? Because this aligns with what we do at Veaux Professional Services. And there is a science to creating a good culture. It can be repeatable. So, Jaime. She is the client success manager. She's been in this role for a year and a half. Her team started off at just 5 employees. It's grown to 12 employees. And here's some good numbers, y'all. So she recently, you know how everybody's doing the surveys at the end of the year. So she got her results back from the employee feedback survey. And from her 12 direct employees, she got a 10 out of 10, y'all. So 10 out of 10, 10 out of 10. And then also her numbers from last year, they are operating 50% more in productivity. So they are doing 100 more projects than they did last year. So she's definitely increased their productivity. So we're going to go ahead and bring Jaime Lawrence to the stage.
Hi.
I was so excited, like telling your stats. That is so impressive. Like,
Thank you.
doing 100 more projects than last year. Like, what's that mean?
Well, so our customers are school districts, and when we're going through and preparing, we know that back to school is our busy time of year. So I like to prepare for the worst. So we came in with a mindset of, okay, let's plan on if they give us X number of projects, what's our game plan going to have to be? We still got a lot more than we expected, so it was a lot of pivoting,
Yeah.
making new changes, sharing the workload, having to say, okay, your schedule and what you're ready to teach this. I'm going to take this off of her schedule. You do this for her, so that'll free up some time for something else. So it was a lot of movement and adjustments as we went.
Okay, so you just said a lot. Not even start with the question like, what do you do? But I heard you say you plan for success. Like, I plan for this increase of workload. Let me tell you, I don't hear a lot of managers saying that. They kind of like, okay, based on last year, we did 20. So if we do 20 again, you are planning for the additional work, the additional productivity. So when it does come, your employees see it, they already know what to do. Like, they're not confused. Is that right?
That's the goal. I mean, and to back up a little bit, so our customer is the school districts. We work for the food service departments, and what my umbrella is, it's all implementation and training. So the implementation team and training team is all one. So for each one customer that we get that we implement, it's not a certain amount of hours. Some need a little bit more hours than others. So we have to, plan accordingly for those and try to do our best we can with those as well.
So, Jaime, what are you doing? I just want to read some of she sent me the results from the employee responses survey of talking about Jaime. And I just want to read a couple. And I want to ask you, like, how are you doing this? So Jamie's very responsive, available, helpful, great to work with her, works hard in creating a true team environment, and can't really think of anything that she can improve on in this time. That is crazy when somebody can't think of nothing. I would be like, she can bring us more food or something. You could have thought of something.
They want more snacks. I already know.
No, everybody wants
Yeah.
more food.
Yeah.
Says something else. Oh, at the beginning of the promotion of Jamie being a manager, she would always say good job or lift people up in the team in a positive way. And I really feel like that has significantly improved me. So, just by you saying good job to someone, you have helped them in other ways. Jamie is great at communication and letting us know what's going on. She will sit down and explain everything to us. She's very organized and will delegate tasks as needed. And then another one says she's doing great. She answers all of our individual questions and issues. No need for, everybody's saying she doesn't need improvement. She creates a supportive, friendly atmosphere. And then she's an excellent manager. Okay, so what are you doing, ma'am?
Okay, so I don't have formal manager training, but my idea is I need us to work as a team. I know that I'm moving into a position that I have the most knowledge. So I will do what I can, but I've got to teach everybody else. So eventually everybody can contribute and we don't have any less, how do we word it? Less productive employees, that whenever I get a project or someone needs help, I can give it to anybody. I don't have to say, oh, he doesn't know that yet. She doesn't know that yet. So I have to move things around. And I don't want my employees who know the most to get loaded down with all of the projects, because that's not fair. Like, we need to even the workload. So my goal has always been to lead by example. So as several of them mentioned, they know I work hard. Yeah. Like, they know, and I display that, and I try my best to lead by example. And I will go in and say, hey, this is how I'm doing it. As they learn it, if they learn a better way, a different way, or a way that we can do it as a team. But my biggest thing has been trying to lead by example. And if I don't know it, I don't expect you to know it. Mm-hmm. If I can't teach it to you, that's not fair to me. Yeah. Because I've been in positions in the past where we're like, oh, just go learn this, but just go teach it. But they have no idea when I tell them, I've got a problem about this. This doesn't make sense with the timeline you're giving me. So at least, even if it's not my strongest, I at least have that base and I can help if they need help.
You said something interesting. You didn't have leadership training. So let's explore, because that happens to most. You are the textbook. You are good at this widget doing this XYZ, and you become the best. And the higher ups are like, okay, let's promote her to a manager. But they don't even touch the surface of delegating and communication and motivating. None of that happens. They're just like, okay, the next step is being a manager. Can you walk me through your experience and what did you do to learn to be this great manager, knowing that you didn't have any experience to pull it off, pull from?
Yeah, some of it was just trial and error. For me, especially especially at the beginning, I took on a lot of it. I said, I'm not going to put it on anybody else. Y'all just do this and I'll take care of this. But I had to learn to, okay, let me take the time to teach them X, Y, and Z so I can start delegating this.
Slow down. So you're saying at the beginning, you were doing everything.
Yeah, a lot of.
Wow.
Because my role is still doing the same job that they're doing, except for I have all of the other manager responsibilities and duties. So I had to pull back a little bit and find ways of, okay, what can I give up? What can somebody else do it without, making sure that they still have what they need to do it successfully is really the goal.
So what kind of what triggered you to be like, okay, I cannot operate like this anymore? Because I talk to a lot of managers where they are still operating in that I will do it all because they don't have trust. So walk me through what that looked like when you're like, okay, something got to change.
Well, part of the change is my own, let's say my own mental health. If I'm looking and I see that my calendar is full, it's
Mm,
packed, but I can look at several other people and they don't really have much going on. Okay, I need to find something, even if it's something small, that I can give them to do. So
mhm.
with some people, I try to keep it in somewhere that is in their comfort level, their expertise. I have someone that's really good and comfortable with Excel.
Yeah.
So anything that I need regarding that, I'm going to give it to her. But if I give it to other people, they would be like, whoa, like, whoa, don't give me this overwhelming. Like, so
Yeah.
I try to target who can help me where. And some of that's just learning my team.
Mhm.
Some of it in the trust we're building, we start with baby steps. Okay, this is something that I could do myself and it wouldn't take time, but you know what? You're not busy. So let me give it to you. Are you going to do a good job? Are you going to get it back to me on time? Do I have to go back and double check your work?
Mhm.
So slowly building up that trust. But in general, my team's really responsive. I think that it is kind of across the board because everybody holds each other accountable. Because the way we operate, if someone from my team doesn't show up, somebody else has to take over their workload. So we
Mm.
all try to do our part and not put it on anybody else. So that's a big piece of it too.
And that I understand why that person said that team environment, because a lot of companies or employees, I'm sorry, they will work in silos. So you do this over here and you do that. There's never like crossing of anything, but you make sure you create an environment where like, hey, if you're not say dropping the ball, but we all need to know what everybody's doing in case that person can't do it, you step in. And so it kind of creates
Mhm.
that accountability. Is that what does your
Yeah,
team deal with accountability?
for sure. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that was I had to stop on. So the biggest take not the biggest takeaway, but one of the takeaways you said is knowing that your calendar was colored and full and your team's calendar wasn't colored and full. And then that's like, wait, something's got to change. So
Mhm.
after you started doing that, then you started giving them small tasks. Is that right? Just to
Right.
kind of see how they would do. Did you have any employees at the beginning that didn't do really good with that small task? What did you do to kind of get them trained up to where you wanted them to be?
Normally, if they haven't completed it as I had in my mind, it was normally I didn't communicate it well enough. So that
Mhm.
was another thing that I've had to learn with. So different people, I need to get on the phone with them. I need to walk through it and then follow up with an email. Sometimes we talk about it as a group. Sometimes I'm going to be hands on and go through it with them. But usually it was more on me rather than on them for if something, you know, came up like that.
This is why we're interviewing you. Managers are not going to evaluate themselves. Like it is, you have to be extremely self-aware to be a good leader because you're going to point to finger at yourself first. And so I got really excited when you said that because that's the type of language you have to create, you know, a 50% productivity increase in 1 year, saying, okay, what did I do? Not necessarily wrong, but what can I do differently to connect with this employee?
Mhm.
When a lot of times some managers will just be like, oh, this is a bad employee. Like, I don't have the right employee in the right spot to do the right thing. So,
Yeah, normally my base, how I use it, if let's just say I'm on a team meeting, we meet every week. If I give everybody the same task,
mhm,
everybody understands except for one person. I know it's not a problem with my communication. I know that this person wasn't listening, whatever the case may be. They didn't read their email, whatever it is. But I've had in the past where most of the team, they didn't reply, they were confused, and it's like, okay, that's a me problem. If they're
yeah.
not understanding, that's a me problem. But if it's like one person, okay, then that's a single employee that I need to follow up with.
So something else that somebody says is she explains everything to us and we know exactly what we're supposed to do. Okay, so how do you go from this is your job description, this is what you're supposed to do, taking those words that's just on a paper and effectively communicating that to the employee where they are successful? Like, what's your how do you do that? And you can even think about like the new person because you
Mhm.
want 5 to 12. So how did you get that new person like acclimated into your system?
We have a very hands-on onboarding.
Mm.
So it is how quickly it goes and how I'm gonna say successful too depends on the individual. It's a lot of accountability. We've said that several times, but we break it up into several parts. And let's say part one is always with this person. Part two is always with this person. So they'll go meet with that first person. They're going to go over all the resources that we have, get some hands-on learning, and then they're going to come to me. And I'm going to go through it with them and we're going to do like a mock call, like I'm a customer, on everything that they learned on part one. Then
Mm.
they're going to go part two with a different person, part three with a different person. But how I keep everything consistent is my onboarding group is the same. My person who onboards number one. So if I get people that are coming through and they keep messing up with one of the questions or scenarios that we're going on, I know I need to retrain this person of, hey, when you're onboarding, you need to emphasize this.
Yeah.
And it keeps everything really consistent. That's what I've tried to do with how we're implementing, how we're training, because our customers are unique, but we need to try to streamline it as much as possible so that at the end of the day, if there's a complaint or a concern, I can say, yes, we went over X, Y, and Z with everybody. So hands-on onboarding is definitely the way to go for us. That worked out really well.
I love it. So the things I heard was like streamlining. Even in your line of work, it can be streamlined and making sure that we are very communicating what's expected of the employees. These are really, really good. Okay, we've had such a good conversation, and I do want to be mindful of your time, but I just have one more question. And we may need to have a part two because
Okay.
so putting yourself back into that when you were just an employee and doing a good job and you've been promoted to now a manager, what would you tell? What's some tips you would tell that upcoming manager? Like, hey, you probably need to focus on this or learn this skill to create a good culture for your department. What would you tell that person?
The biggest things that I had to focus on was reminding myself that, okay, I did their job too. What was important to me? So I took the time out and I met with each person and I said, okay, you know what? When you do a good job, how do you like to be rewarded? Do you want to be recognized? Do you want a gift card? Do you want days off? So I can learn how people like to be rewarded and recognized. Everybody on my team except for one person, they're happy with just a little message to the group like, shout out, so and so did good today, so and so got a compliment. But learning that, and then the communication part was a big thing for me because I had to figure out what worked best. And just kind of keeping my structure of how can I get all this done plus be there for what they need. So for me, I would say, prioritize what your team needs, make sure they're taken care of, they're good first, and then take care of what you need. These reports that I have to do, I can do those later. I can do those at night when nobody's working, but they need me now. So I try to put them as a priority for stuff like that when I can.
So many good nuggets. I mean, throughout the whole conversation, you hit us with the being transparent, communication. You told us that if there's an issue, you look at yourself first as a manager. You even said right now, having those individual meetings with your staff and asking them, how do you want to be rewarded? That was a really good takeaway. And then communication, knowing that they are the most important assets to you, they come first. That's all servant leadership. That's something that VPS always talks about. So Jaime, I just want to thank you again for taking the time out to talk to the people and just telling us what you do. And I know that everything at Veaux Professional Services, we stand on that. It can be repeatable. We have this like fictitious goal that we want every employer to be the best place to work for. It's doable. These things can be repeated. So again, thank you so much, Jamie,
Thank you for having me.
to talk to us about great leaders and what they do. So we will see you guys next Thursday. Bye.
Bye.